Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to solve another problem and I hope you enjoy this video. In this problem that I'm going to solve, I need to build a website that shows a category of the product, and then when I select the product it simply has to show all the items under that product, and then allowing the user to select a checkbox next to each item to simulate a shopping cart. So simply you select some of the checkboxes and then click on submit, and it should show you the total. The solution that I create has to use associative array to hold the information. We're not going to do database or file at this moment, so we just want to see how do we handle this process just by using the associative array. So if you look at this, the product, you got to sell the product on your website, and then you're building an online store which shows something similar. So as you can see, here is the TV shop. You select the drop down, it shows all the brands for the TV in this case, and then you have a checkout button. Now you should be able to select the product, and each product has to have at least 3 items in it. So selecting one product in a particular category allows the user to check out, and your program has to calculate the total price and say how much is the total price of course before tax. So here is I have to select 3 product, category of 3 products, and then I have 3 items. Now if you look at this example, I have Samsung, LG, and Sony as the category, and then I have the name and the price of that product, right? So as you can see, I have Crystal, and the price is $1,599.23, right? So if I go through these points, I just want to quickly go through the requirements. These are just a requirement regarding adding some variable name of best practices that is added there. Add your full name student is again another requirement. Use an associative array to store the inventory information. So we're not going to use database or file. We are going to use associative array. Now we have to show some client information, which I'll probably do it at the very end, right? Which is the IP address, browser that user using, and the time that request was sent to the server. We have to also have a drop-down again that shows the information, right, like this. We got to be able to select a category and submit to the script, so that way we can show the product. If the category exists, so this means when we receive the category, we have to make sure the category exists in associative array, right, through the get method, and then we simply loop through the items that is under the category in associative array, and we show them. So we show the price and the name, and in 2 decimal places, right? Going forward, whenever you select the checkboxes here in this case, so you select whatever checkbox you want and submit, it should simply show the total for all the selected item. So here is, if in case you just select one item and then it goes to the page and render the content, so you will just see the total of that item. So there are a few scenarios here. Here I'm selecting only one, the other screen I'm selecting 2, so adding these 2 prices will show the total, and so on and so forth. There are some bonus mark which will come back toward the end to implement them. Okay, let's code. So the very first thing I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and create the file, and I have to be able to create my associative array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create this associative array. I call it let's say product, or products, right? So this is the product I have, and there is no particular reason I'm putting the underscore. I just want to know this is the main item, or is the array that carries the item or products, right? So I want to use an associative array. The way I'll do it is I'll consider the first item be the category. In this case, I just put category A, right? And then I will have the value, which are the products. Now, what I'm going to do with the products, for each of these elements, I will go ahead and add as many items as I want. So the value of each product will be the items under that product. Okay, let me just go here. So I have 3 items under a category. So now what I would do is, in order to make it these information meaningful and easily accessed, rather than just throwing the value of the item name and the price, I will tag them. So I'll go ahead and use the key as, let's say, title, right? Or product title or title. And then I will put here, let's say, test 1. I just put some dummy data for now, but you can go ahead and change it to whatever you want later, right? So then I have the price, right? For the price, I'll go ahead and add some values here, 23, right? So if you look at this, I have title. Usually it's good to say like product title, product price, but I just want to make simplify in this case. So I've done that, right? And I'll go ahead and I'll add 3 of this, right? And I will rename or change the value of the product title so when we upload this, we can actually, when we run it, we can see the values. So make it this one, let's say $11 instead of 23, and then this one I'll make it $12, right? Okay. So we have done that. The very first thing I want to do is, before I go further, I have my associative array ready. I just want to see if I can populate a drop-down menu. So I'll go ahead and I test my code. I'll do word dump, and I print the product here to see if I can receive all the value the way it should be. I'm going to open the terminal, right? And I'll go ahead and do PHP dash uppercase S localhost. I'm going to run the built-in web server on PHP, right? And I will run it on port 80. Okay, here you go. So it's running. Simply go ahead, run this, and I can see the value. Let me just go ahead and print pre here. I believe I can do it this way so we can see them properly, right? There you go. Let's see. So you go. So I am receiving the whole product, the category, and I can see the category A, which is the key of the first element of this associative array, has 3 array elements, and each of them represents a product. Now, if I want to go ahead and access these elements, I can simply go ahead and say, give me A, right? So look at this. So if I do that, I will receive, I have to put the single quote around it, is the key, right? The string. So I'll go ahead and do that one more time. Here you go. I'm receiving all the items. I can go ahead and specify the index of the first element. So I'm saying 0, meaning on the category A, I want the very first product. So if I do that, then I can get the first element, right? Look at this. Now I can go ahead and say, you know what? I want the title of the first product. So simply I can go ahead and get the title. Of course, I can go ahead and change this one to price, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. There you go. I got the price. So everything looks okay. Now what I have to do is I have to create a drop-down menu. I'm not going to create a function, which is a good idea to create a function with this, but I just want to write a simple version of this. And the reason being is some of you guys do not know about PHP function yet. So I just want to solve it without the function, but the best approach would be to create a function for this. So I'll go ahead and create the drop-down category, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable here, menu, let's call it cat menu, right? So I'm going to call it cat menu, and at the beginning I'll make it empty. So I need a for each loop in this case. I can do it with for loop too, but for each loop makes it easier to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, I want the products, right, as key and value. Okay, so if I just go here and I would do echo key, I'll put some space in between, and I want to print the value. I believe value would not work here. Let me just do this. Let me just go word dump value, right? And I'm going to print the key as well, because value is an array. Remember that? And I'll print the key in this case. And of course, I'm going to go do HR here to put a new line or a horizontal line to separate the values. Let's see what we have here. Here you go. So right now, I'm going to print the float. Let me go back here, check something here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this and refresh this. Okay, very good. So I can see I have the title, the price, title, price, and so on and so forth, right? And let me just check one thing here. Yeah, that's good. So since I have only one category and three items under that category, I see it like this. Let me go ahead and change here so you understand it better. If I copy the A, right, just go here and make this one B, and make this one 121 and 20 more 31. So if I do that, then I get two set of records. Do you see that? So now that I have this, I can simply go ahead and use the key. If I just don't print this, let's see what happened. So I'm getting the category as a key. So if I can get the category as a key, I should be able to populate the menu. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going here, instead of printing this, I just use the cat menu, and I will append an option keyword here, right? And I print the key. Let's see how it happens. So I'm creating the options for the dropdown, category dropdown. Okay, I'm going to close this as well. And I'm going to remove all the extras here. So look at this. So I'm going to the product. I'll get the key, which is the category name, and I will populate the options that at the end I can simply print it as categories. Let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say echo, right? Select. I'm going to give a name to it. I'll call it cat, right? And I will append the cat menu here. And of course, I'm going to close the drop down select tag. Okay, let's see if that works. So if I refresh this, I don't see nothing. Let me see what is going on. Okay, let's go back here. Let me see what I have done here. I have select, of course, right? So let's go ahead and run that one more time. Oh, I closed this. Let me just run it one more time. Okay. So I'm going to go run this. There you go. I have the drop down, right? So I have created a dynamic form, meaning if I go and copy this another time, right? Let me just put a comma here to separate this. I make this one C, and then do 1 1 1 again, right? 1 1 1 again, right? Let's see what happens. So I have A, B, C. Dropdown is created. That's very nice, right? So of course this can go to the function. You can pass the information to the function, like the category name you want, or the dropdown name you want, and then return it and print it. But let's see if I can get the category now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say if is underscore cat is set. It means the category is there, and I have to go ahead and print the products, right? So let's make sure that is there. I'll go ahead and say echo category is, right? So I'm gonna go here and I'll just print the category, cat name, the one I receive as a parameter list, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Refresh. Okay. Okay. Of course, I need drop down somewhere, correct? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll create the form here, echo form. I leave it no action, and simply this is because I wanted to submit it to the same page, right? So I'll go echo input type equal submit. Okay, so let's see if that works. Yeah, I have the submit button. I select category B, category is B, category is C, right? So I can pass the category through the parameter list and I can read them. Now that I have the category, I should go ahead simply and print the product. So what I'm going to do is I usually define all the variables I want at the beginning of the code so I can manage them later on easily. I can see what are the variables I have. So I'm going to go ahead and create another variable here. I'll call it cat name, and I'll make it equal empty. Okay, and then simply what I will do is I'll go ahead here and I will say cat name is equal, let me just use this technique, is set. I want to try to, oh, actually I can do it this way too. Let me just go ahead and say, just put the get in there, right? It's a category set because I already checked that, put it in here, right? So I got the category. Now if the category is there, I should simply go ahead and print the products, right? So we have to go ahead and get the products for the selected category. Okay, let's see how do we do that. So in order for me to get the product for the selected category, the very first thing is I gotta go ahead and access the associative array and find the category and select all the products under that category. So the best way would be this. Let me just show you. I'll go ahead and word up this to make sure that I receive the values properly and I can select the right product. So I'll go ahead and I'll put this one here and simply I'll go and say, give me the cat name, right? Look at that. So I've already selected the category and then I go to the product and I say whatever category was passed, in this case, if you look at the menu is C, right? Go ahead and give me all the products. Let's see that if that works. So I'm gonna go ahead, save this, go back up here. Here you go, I received all of them, right? So if that is the case, I'll go ahead, create a variable, I'll call it items is equal this. So I'm receiving all the items. What do I have to do next? I just have to loop through the items in order to create my checkboxes. So let's do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say for each loop again, right? For each. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and say items as. So what do I need here? This is all the products. And I want one at a time. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, give me as value. I don't need the key because key is the index that I don't need, right? Let's just make sure. So I'll go ahead and echo values, or better to do word dump values. I always check my work to make sure that I'm receiving the value I'm looking for. So let's see if we do. So if I click this, yeah, I receive all the values I need, right? And if I go and select the other one, let's see, go to C, right? You see the values are changing, A, right? And so finally B. Look at the values, they're all changing. Now that I have this, I can simply go ahead and create my checkboxes. Either I can save them into a variable or I can just print them right away. So you can save it into a variable, print them later on. This can be a function that returns the string that contains all the checkboxes, or you can just go ahead and print it. For simplicity, I'll just print it for now. So I'll go ahead and say input type is equal checkbox, right? And I'll give a name. I'm gonna call it items, right? So these are the items that I have, or products if you want to call it, right? I should have a value, right? Now keep in mind the user can select more than one checkbox, and in order to keep this one dynamic, meaning I can keep adding to the products as many as I want, I just go ahead, rather than calling them individual name, I call them a same name, but I put the square bracket to make them an array. So here is what I would do is I'll go ahead simply and put the name, the value here. What is the value? So if I go here and say value, and if you remember, the product has a key associated to every values. So I can go ahead and say, you know what, give me the price. Okay, so if I do that, let me just close this. And I'm gonna go ahead and print the name and the price right at the end as well. So I'll go ahead and say value. Actually, let me call this item. This makes sense to say values. Items as item, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and say, give me the item price and give me the item title, and of course, I need the title price too. As a matter of fact, if I want to write this correctly, this is what I'm going to do. Let me just go ahead, comment this for now. I'm going to go ahead and use printf so I can format this properly. So I'm going to go ahead and put a BR to separate these first, right? Then I go input. Let me just put this on double quote so I won't have much problem in putting a single quote in, right? So I'm going to go ahead, input type is equal checkbox, name is equal items, right? And I also go ahead and put the value in there. Now for the value, since I'm using printf, I rather to use the price in this case, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this is float, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put %f for float because I'm going to pass this value to the printf function. Now I'll go ahead and close this one. Also, I should be able to print the title of the product, and again, I should be able to show the price of the product as well, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close this checkbox right in here, and I have 3 values to pass on. So here you go. I'll go ahead and say I need the price. So I'm going to go ahead and say give me the items square bracket price, right? So the first value here, the first parameter value that I'm typing right now will go to the %f as a value, right? Is the price. Second one is the title, right? So I'll go ahead and say item title, and then finally I print the price outside the value of the checkbox, so user can see how much this value is. So I'm going to go ahead and print the price one more time. Let's see if that works. Let me just put the semicolon there, see if everything is fine up to here. If I go here, yeah, here you go. So I got the checkboxes, I got their name, and I got the prices. Let's check the source code here. As you can see, I have 10, 23, so I had to make this one 2 decimal point, right? Let's do that as well. So I'll go here, and I'll simply say 0.2, and here I'll put 0.2. Let's see if that fixes it. Right, it does, right? Of course, if you want to show $sign next to these values, I can simply go ahead and put a $sign right in there, so then you can see the value there. So if I go and select the product category, second category, and the last category is C, you see the values are changing, right? So it does work up to now. And of course, it would be nice if I could keep these drop-down menus selected, and that is one of the bonus mark. Please select category until shopping is completed. Okay, so let's do that. We have printed the checkbox. We have no problem up to now. I have to select the checkboxes, send them back, and then calculate the price, right? As a matter of fact, I'll do the drop-down selection at the very end. Let's finish this one first. Okay, now I have the form here. I'm gonna go ahead and you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and close the form somewhere. Let me see if I can close the form somewhere there. Okay. Does that even make sense? Let me see. So I'm gonna take the form out. I'm gonna go ahead outside this, right? And now what I would do is I'm going to add these drop downs here. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is this. Look at this. I so and say item list. I'll make it equal empty, right? So I have the item list. Instead of printing them, right, I just simply go ahead and I don't remember if printf returns the value. Let me just check. PHP printf. I think scanf should do the job instead of printf. Printf is just sprintf. Yeah, sprintf should do the job. What does it return? Format, argument. Let me see. It returns an integer, so that's not what I want. Sprintf returns the string. So I'm going to use sprintf instead of fprintf. So that way I can store this value into item. Let me see. Item list, right? There you go. Let's check that one out. Is it item list? Yes. So I have formatted the text using sprintf, saved them into item list as a variable. Now I can simply go ahead and print them here if I need to. So I'll go ahead and say $sign item list. Okay, let's see if that works. So I have the form, I have the category, I have the item list, and I have the submit button too, right? Let's see if that works. I'm going to close this for now, refresh this, so I don't see any issue. Of course, I can put a ER here to make this one go away, or go to the next line to just make it look better a little bit. Here you go. So if I go and select the B and submit, right? Do you see that? Yeah, that will work. If I go select C, then all the C is selected. So now I select the option C and I select the second one, which is 21. Just keep that in mind. So as soon as I select, you can see item 21, which was in C, right? Let me just select this one. I think I should keep this one going, right? Let's see. So I'm selecting this, test 211 for $111, right? So if I do that, I get that one on the URL as well. I have the category as well. So, and if I select two, let's see what happened to the URL, right? You see, I have two items by, because simply I have added this. I forgot to add this to the name, which I wanted to become an array. Let's check that one out. Although this sends all the parameter in this case, but only the last item you can access. The last item overrides anything previous of the same name. So it is. Let's try one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and select 3, right? Submit, categories A, right? And there are 3 items. So it shouldn't be hard to calculate the total. What I have to do is I just have to make sure the items are there. So I'll go ahead and say if is set get items, right? If that is there, it means item has been passed to this. The parameters are all here. I just have to go through it and print them. So I'm going to go ahead and create another variable here. I'll call it $total, right? And I'll make it 0. Okay. So now in this area, I need a for loop. Remember the items, if I go and do this, word dump, get items, right? Let's see what we get. So if I refresh this page, you can see I'll go ahead and do another one. 1, 2, 3. Here you go. I get the array, right? So I get the array of all these elements. So let's do it this way. So if that is the case, I can simply go ahead and say, you know what? Total plus equal this value, right? So keep adding the items total. Remember, I'm just passing the price of an item as a value of every checkbox, right? So if I do that, I can say echo the total price is, and I can go here and I just print total. Let's see if that works. Oh, what is it? Line 43. Line 43 is, let's read the error. Unsupported operating types. Let me just get this one for a second. Let me see my code. 48, I have get items. Not item. Is it items? Yeah, it is items. So it's not printing. Let's read the message one more time. It says unexpected, unsupported operating type in black, right? Line 43. So if I come over here, total is 0. I made it 0. I cannot see what is wrong here. Let's work together with this. I have get items. Let me just do this, please. Sorry, I cannot see the issues here. If I print this, so what I'm trying to do here, it doesn't work. Array to string conversion, line 43. Oh, yes, that is the problem. You know what? Because this is an array, I totally forgot about this. I cannot do it like this. I have to have a for loop, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say for I is equal 0, because remember, I might receive more than one price or one item selected. So I have to loop through the array I'm receiving in order to get the value. So I'm going to go ahead and say count where I is less than count underscore get items, right? And of course I'm going to increment the value of the I. Now if that is the case, then simply I need to go here and I just put the I here to print to access the element of the array. So take a look at this. Items are coming, and as you look at the URL here, we have more than one item, right? So that become array simply because we have added the square bracket in there. So if the items are there, I can simply loop through it, and keep in mind, even if it's one item, it still is an array because of the square bracket. So you don't need to check if it's more than one item or not. So they'll come in there, and then I'll go through a loop from the beginning to the end of the array, and I start going to every single element of this array, and I try my best to get the value and add it to the total. Let's see if that works. Here you go. Total is, okay, let's try one more time. Total is, another time. Does that work? Yeah, it does, right? Here you go. So we're done. We really done the application. Everything is there, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. The code itself looks like a spaghetti at this moment, right? And keep in mind, this is the first problem we are solving. For those who are just learning PHP, learning about associative array and a little bit of if statement, we don't know functions. So that's why we keep writing the code to provide the solution. Now that we have the solution, of course, we can make this one better by organizing them into a function and calling them through the parameter list, having some sort of organization in our code for the view, model, so on and so forth, right? But let's go back to the assignment and read the bonus mark, see what it is. I'm going to do a few of them, not all of them. So the one of them is pre-select the category until shopping is completed, showing total prices. So, okay, let's go ahead and do that. If you remember, what we do here is we actually prepare the category by going through the product, right? So if I receive the category, which I do, if I show you the value here, right, I always receive the category on the URL. So while I'm printing these options, if I get the category and match it with the key, if it find the match with the key, I know this is the one that was selected, right? So let's see how this works. Okay, so I'm going to get these for each loop, and now I'm going to bring it somewhere here, right? Because I want to select it after the category is selected. Okay, let's do that. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and say, you know what, I'll create a variable, I'll call it selected, right? And I'll say get, let me see if I can do it this way. I can say if the key equal, remember I created the category name before, right? If these two are the same, right, simply I'll go ahead and type the selected attribute for the option. Otherwise, I just make it like that. Does that make sense? Let me just go ahead and put some bracket around this, and of course change the comma to this to make it look work. Okay, so I just put that bracket to make it more organized. Sometimes it does cause a problem, but it's not necessary to have the bracket around it, right? But let's look at this. I'm saying the key that I'm printing right now, if it's the same as the category name I'm receiving in line 30, just put the word selected into selected. Otherwise, make it empty. The only thing I have to do now is I just go ahead here. Let me put some space, and I print the selected variable value. So in this case, if selected has, just get the extra one. If the selected has the value of selected, the option will be selected. Otherwise, it would not be selected. Let's see if that trick works, right? So let's go back here. Let's go select category B, submit, category B is selected, category C is selected, category A is selected. So I can keep them selected. Now, the second option, which it says, keep the selected item checked until shopping is completed. So this means if I go and select this item, I have to keep it selected. So let's see how do we do that. I was thinking about this, and I come up with a technique that is easier to manage for me, and also validate the information as well. So what I would do is this. I'll go ahead and add another attribute, call it ID here, right? And I will assign a unique ID, very similar to what we have in database, right? So I have the ID of the product, in this case is 1. I'm gonna add the next one, 2, and so on and so forth, right? Let me just go ahead and add all of this. Then I come back and quote the rest. I have to do some modification to make this new change to apply to the code first, because now I'm using ID instead of the price of the item in the checkbox, right? 7, 8, okay, and finally I have the ID 9. Okay, so now what I have to do is, if I go back to my code, if you remember here, for the value of the item I put the price. So instead of putting the price, I simply have to go and add the ID. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, let's go ahead and check our code first. So I'm going to go ahead and print view source, and let's see what do we have. Item value 1, item value 2. So I got the ID, which as I said is very similar to primary ID, into the options, right? Now what I'm going to do here is, if I have the ID, what I have to do, I simply have to go and select a category and then find the ID, right, that matches any of these products and get the total. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but it's very similar to what you do with the query, writing a query to select something from database. Let's look at this. So I'm going to use the same here, but instead of using the items, because I want to read the entire product under the selected category and see if the ID matches. So let's find that. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, $sign products, right? And I'm going to do this for the cat name. What's the cat name? Right? So is the category name I received. And keep in mind that is on the URL already, right? Category A in this case. So I'm saying go for that one and give me the count. Now, in order for me to find out if the item is in there, what I would do is this. Let's look at this. I'm going to go ahead and check every single item I have here. So if I go and get the product, remember product is, let's say if it's A, this is only selecting category A, right? And I'm going to go get the index of the product. So if this is category A and I is 0, I'm simply selecting this line, right? Category A, X is 0, so I'm selecting the first item in that category. So if I do that, right, and I simply go ahead and say, you know what, give me the ID, okay? So if I do this, I'm going to the product, I have the category, I go to the first item because I'm inside the loop, and I'll look for the value ID. Now, what I can do is, the best way to do this is to check this ID against all the items ID I received. Remember, I change all the items to be the ID instead of the price, right? So it become an array. So in that case, what I can do is this. I can go ahead and say if in, rather than having another loop, I can say if this item that I'm selecting right now is inside the items. This one, let me just get this inside this array. Let's look at that. Am I correct here? Missing one bracket. Here you go. So I'm saying if the ID of the current product in this category is one of the ID passed through the get in the array of items, then come here. So now, if it comes in, it means I have found the matching ID, right? So I just have to go ahead and do this. Let me just show you that. It's amazing, no? So I say I instead of ID, I say price. Look at that. So I'm not relying on any of the item you send anymore. I don't, because you could have changed the prices on the URL, the previous version, to manipulate the total, right? Now you can. So if you pass me the ID or go get the price from my source, which is associative array in that case, right? So let's see if that works first, and then I'll do the rest, right? So let's see if that works. I go back to the code. I just go ahead and take this one out. Let's see if there is any error. No error. Submit, and I submit that. Here you go. It does work, right? So no problem. Now I want to keep these guys checked. So let's see how do we do that. Okay, let's go back to our code. Where do I put in the checkboxes? Right in here. Oh, this is amazing. So if you look at this, I can make this one is better code. So let me go ahead and clean this one. I say title, right? And I can simply go and say item title, right? I just want to clear it for you so you can see it better. Price, okay, item, I'm gonna go ahead and say price. Then I will do ID, and simply I will have the item ID. Okay. ID. So instead of printing all these things, I just simply go ahead and say ID, title, and of course price at the end, right? Okay. Okay, so I saved them into a variable and I just print the variable. I'll go back here to just make sure everything works. I don't see any issues, right? Now is the time to actually check these checkboxes. Well, I'll do the same technique. So what happened here, I will check if the ID that I'm receiving matches one of the ID I received through the parameter list. If it is, I'll just have to put the attribute checked into this checkbox. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead, create a variable, I'll call it checked, and I'll simply go ahead and say in array, right? This time I have to check the ID that is inside the, let me just go ahead and do this, get items, right? If it is there, if the value is there, let me just do some technique here too. So this might not be there at all, because by the time you get to the category, you might not have the item. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I said, if that is not exist, just put an array in. Look at that. Let me just put a semicolon here. So what I did here is this, in array receives a string and that will compare it with an array. So I'm guessing if you're the first time arriving at this page and the items are not there or the product IDs are not there, I'm saying, okay, in that case, if this is not set, just use a empty array to not let the code to break, right? So I've done this, and then what I do is this, look at this. So if this item is in the array, simply I have to go and put the checked attribute in there. Otherwise, I don't need anything. I hope that makes sense. So if you look at the code one more time, I'm checking the ID against the item ID I receive. And in order to make sure that on the very first time that items are not there as a parameter, my code won't break, I just replace this with an empty array if it doesn't exist, right? So then the ID checks into empty array, it cannot find it. So this is not true, it's gonna print an empty string. If it is true, if the ID is found in the array, it just simply saves the checked string into the variable check. The only thing I have to do, I add another parameter here, and I'll simply go ahead and say, you know what, put the checked in there. Does that make sense? I hope so. So let's see if it works. So go back, refresh the page. Yes, it does. Look at that. Nothing is selected. It is selected. I'm going to go ahead and select B. 2 items, right? Let me just go. Of course, I have to select the category first. Do you see that? So that's all. I hope you enjoyed this. I will post the code to the repository, my Git repository, and include it into the comment on the video so you can have access to it. Good luck and have fun.